I'm here with Mike Volpi from Juiced. Mike, how you doing?
Hi, Kara.
How's it
Well,
going?
thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
So we're here to talk. We're talking. We had a lovely breakfast talking in this beautiful hotel. Let me just give people a view of Los Angeles, right over there, at the Mondrian Hotel at Asia de Cuba, and talking about various internet stuff and your background at Cisco and places like that. Tell me why you came to Juiced. What was your impetus for coming, showing up?
The thing that was exciting about Juiced, obviously, is we're talking about transforming a pretty big market. If you think about how much television people watch, and transferring that over to the internet as a delivery platform, and then giving users a whole bunch of different features that don't exist elsewhere. That was a pretty exciting thing. But the underlying pieces of Juice that made it really exciting for me were, one, a really unique technology. This peer-to-peer stuff really is a great way to deliver video content and really allow for great differentiation. So technology, great market, which is at the right time. There's enough broadband in America now to watch TV on the internet. There's enough interest from media companies to provide us with legal content.
Because this has been tried before, this whole idea of TV.
Absolutely, but it was the wrong time.
Right.
And the market is big and it's at the right time.
Right.
And then the last thing is the team. Obviously you have two founders who have done this before with peer-to-peer, but actually aside from the two of them, we've got a great team, a lot of folks from MTV, a lot of folks in Europe that are our engineering team that come from the Apache Foundation, so world-class open source development technology. So team, technology, market, those would be
You feel like the people are
things.
ready to watch TV on the internet, or watch a TV experience.
I think so, yeah.
And it's not the opposite where like Apple TV going into, onto the screen. There's a lot of people that have attempted that, using the computer to control the
Well,
TV
look,
screen.
I'm a hardware guy, so I have a little bit of experience with set-top boxes. I think that the notion of sticking another thing onto your TV is a little ways away.
Right.
Because fundamentally, you have a lot of stuff attached to your television. It's not an easy way to do things. Now, some people that are technical, young, etc., might take a box and plug it in, or plug in their PC to their 50-inch panel, but that's not the core of the market.
Right.
I do think, on the other hand, that people are ready to watch TV on their computers.
And why is that? That's because there's the argument, the lean-in experience, the lean-back experience. I've heard that from, from forever.
There is that argument. I think that argument tends to go away, and principally that was because on the PC there wasn't like a good viewing experience. And you had these little tiny screens with like grainy images, so it has to be a lean-in experience. If you make the experience better, you can lean back, and then when you want to interact, you can lean in and do your thing.
Right.
And then PC screens are getting better, higher quality, and I think people get the personal experience now with their PC that they didn't get before.
Right.
And then the last thing that I think is really interesting is if you look at particularly sort of teens, 20-year-old, 30-year-olds, you multitask in front of the TV. You got your laptop, you're doing email, you're chatting, you're looking up stats for the football game, and you're
Not
watching
just teens,
the game.
old folks like me.
Okay, so cool old folks.
Grannies like myself.
So you combine those. You say watch it and play with it all at the same time on a nice screen on your PC, and that's what we're offering.
Okay. So Mike, what about the content itself? Because one of the things, no matter what experience is, and obviously you do have to have a pretty good experience, but people are more forgiving on the experience, but the content they're not forgiving on. They want to watch something good.
Yep.
No matter what, that's always been the issue.
Yep.
YouTube's done very well with those 2 and 3 minute, cat on a skateboard thing, people, vomiting, things like that, fun stuff like that. What's the difference? What are you trying to offer that's slightly different? You're offering real television, kind of thing.
So what you find today on Juiced is real TV. So it's CSI, it's Lost, it's Numbers, it's Survivor, that type of stuff that you would find on regular television. And I think that's interesting in that in long form at high quality it's not available elsewhere on the internet. But I think it's just a start. And the reason I say that is when new media first came along, what they did is they took what existed in old media and just played it. So the first television shows were all talk shows. That's because we had radio, and they just moved radio to television. What's going to happen in phase 1 of this is we're going to just take TV and move it over the internet, which is fine. It'll get users on, it's a novel experience and so forth. But over the longer term, I think we're going to create content which is actually more suited to an internet style approach, which is more interactive, which has different endings, which have different angles, which has a lot of different twists to it that take advantage of the media.
Well, we're here in Hollywood right now, as you can see, all these Hollywood folk having their breakfast and making deals over here. Hello, making deals. So we're not making any deals, but do you see them adapting to this?
We don't want to be on Juiced.
No, yeah, they're dying to be on Juiced. Over there, I can tell. That's all they're talking about. Me, all the time, I want to be on Juiced. I want to be the Juice star. But do you see them adapting to that? Because this is a very high, expensive, big money. They like to be paid up front. They're not very risky people.
Yeah. So you got to start somewhere, right? And the way you start is you take their assets today, which are already pre-built,
Right.
and you monetize them. So if,
Right.
if they can figure out that they can in fact make money on it
Right.
effectively, then they'll take risks.
Right.
There's certainly plenty of creative talent.
Right.
It's just that the more creative ideas don't have a path to get out to market right now.
Right.
Because the medium isn't there. It's not. We don't have an interactive television medium. So
But do you see
as we
it
create
being? Do you see it being a hit-driven thing? Because I was just at Jib Jab, which had that big internet. This land is your land, and they had the whole bunch of them, and they were even saying we don't need one big hit that has 50 million views. We need 500 hits that have a million. You know, they'd rather do that.
I tend to agree. I tend to think that, historically, if you look at the media business, you've had sort of the real top end stuff that makes all the money, and then a quick drop off in
Right.
that content curve towards the long tail.
Right.
I think because of the new medium that we create through Juiced, you flatten out that top curve. So
Right.
instead of having the one big hit, you have 10 or 20 big ones, which all make a little less money, but
Right.
Perhaps a little less expensive to produce as well.
Right, and do you have to have a hit? Like, what is a hit now, from your perspective? Now, you're not a movie guy, and you're not a TV guy.
I think you do need. You do need hits. It might be a series. It might be a series of episodes. But you do need things that a lot of people gather to. It can't be that it is a one-to-one relation between person and content, because then you can never put enough money into the content to make it worthwhile.
Do you see yourselves funding that, like becoming a studio, or are you more of a distribution vehicle?
No, for now we're in the distribution business. There's plenty of money and plenty of people who know how to make content.
But
Our
you have
job
to
is
encourage
deliver.
them. Obviously, it helps you.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you encourage them?
We
You had that
encourage them
party
by-
for them. You were trying to get.
Well, there's a social encouragement stuff,
Right.
but I think more importantly, we can actually sit with them and explain to them the capabilities of the platform. Because I
Right.
think, most content people think of like, okay, I've got a user, they're sitting on a TV, and I just send stuff to them.
Right.
So we have to help them by giving them demonstrations, and we'll say, okay, well, let's give you an interactive application that we developed for you.
Right.
For example, a stats app on football. We'll go to the NFL
Right.
and say, let us show you how you can find stats
Right.
about the football player while you're watching the game in the
Right.
background, right?
Right.
And they don't think of that stuff inherently.
Right.
And then we develop tools for them so it's easy to create those apps.
I
Right?
see.
That's the type of thing we can do.